Welcome to another edition of That Time When. Matt Miller with you. This is the podcast series where I take you through the archive here at Trekzone. Today, as a final precursor to Talkin' Science Fest that was supposed to be the Canberra road trip, we're diving into Tatooines. They're real and they're out there. Well, I'm now joined by Rajika on Skype. We're talking about planets orbiting binary star systems. Rajika, thanks so much for your time today.
That's fine. I'm happy to be talking about my science and science fiction planets.
Now, this is really cool because there is a deep science fiction element to this study, but there is a basis in real world science for these sort of Tatooines, as we call them.
Yeah. So I guess the most popular example of planets in binary star systems would be Tatooine. There's some other examples. So my personal favorite is Magrathea from Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. And also Gallifrey from Doctor Who is a planet that orbits two stars. So they're a special type of planet. So you can have what we call a binary star system. These are two stars that orbit each other. And planets can exist in these systems. If the two stars are far enough away from each other, you can have the planet go around one of the stars. And that kind of looks like our solar system. We just go around one star. But if the two stars are close enough together, the planet can go around both of those stars. And that's what we call a circumbinary planet. And that's what these sci-fi planets like Tatooine and Gallifrey and Magrathea are called. They're circumbinary planets. And for a long time, they remained, objects of science fiction because we hadn't seen them. But in recent decades, we have actually discovered planets that are orbiting two stars like these science fiction planets. So it's pretty neat.
That is really cool. How does one find these planets? Obviously, with an exoplanet around a single star, we're looking for the warble in the star's light. How does it sort of work with two stars?
So it's a lot harder. And actually for circumbinary planets, we haven't been able to find any planets using that wobble that you're talking about. So that wobble in the light, that's called a Doppler shift. That happens when, I guess, the planet is big enough or close enough that it can tug on the star. The problem with these circumbinary planets is that the planet is often quite far away from the central binary star system, that it's just whatever effect the planet has is overwhelmed by the two stars. So we use other techniques. The transit method is where we look for little blips, like blinking of the star. So when the planet moves in front of the star, it blocks out a little bit of light. So you can see these little tiny blips in the starlight that goes down because the planet is blocking it. Most of the circumbinary planets that we've discovered today use that method, but it's quite a bit harder to look for them around binaries than around a single star. So when you think about our solar system, if an alien was looking at our solar system and they saw Jupiter pass in front of it, if they look, I think it's 5 years later, they'll see pretty much Jupiter passing at the same time. Like the period between those blips is pretty steady. And that's how we found thousands of exoplanets. So this method is really good for single stars though. When you have a binary star, the binary star is orbiting each other and they cause their own blips. And then the planets would be passing in front of those stars and also causing blips. And the problem is that those blips don't necessarily happen at regular intervals, and that makes it so much harder to find them. So actually, most circumbinary planets we've discovered are found by just by manually looking at the data, because we can't get a machine to search for them just yet. We're still kind of having to look at the data ourselves.
That is incredible. So how long is it taking to sort of, record the data and then analyse it to work out what you've discovered?
I guess it depends on the technique and the instrument. So I think for Kepler, the Kepler Space Telescope, which is now dead, sadly, the requirements were you had to have seen 3 orbits. And obviously it's a lot faster to get 3 orbits if the planet goes around the star every few days or every few weeks. So Mercury has an orbit of 90 days, I think. So if you wanted to capture Mercury, you'll just have to be looking at it for about 9 months, and hopefully you would have caught 3 blips. So that's the criteria for Kepler planets. And I think it'll be the same for circumbinary planets. You have to catch 3 orbits.
That was a fun chat. And of course, that name, Tatooine's inspired by Star Wars, a planet surrounding 2 suns. Very, very awesome work. And I can't believe that they're real. They're out there. Science fiction is proving all of these things true. Very exciting. Well, to catch the full chat there with Rajika, click the card on the YouTube video, or if you're listening to this as a podcast, jump onto Trekzone.org. Scroll down to the That Time When section on our homepage. Click on this episode, then click through to the full chat, which is available in the archive of Trekzone. Very, very exciting. Well, for now, and as always, I'm Matt Miller for Trekzone.
Keep up to date with Twitter. Catch new podcasts daily on YouTube. Plus, we're beaming to your favorite podcast app 5 days a week. Just search for Trekzone and subscribe.